Welcome to Local Matters. I'm Elizabeth Shanahan-Jewett, and I hope this week has been good to you. For the month of July, we're taking a look back at some of our most popular stories. First up, we have a piece for our This Is Who We Are series by Nate Greenstein, whose perspective as a gamer who runs several gaming YouTube channels is valuable in explaining to the more Luddite among us, gaming is socialization. The value to people of all levels of abilities is profound, and during COVID was a mental health lifesaver. Here it is.
These past few months have been a difficult time for all of us, as social isolation due to the COVID-19 pandemic has limited us from getting the person-to-person contact that we as human beings need. Even as our state opens up, we are still limited in when, where, and how we socialize. As we search for new ways to stay connected with those we care about, one social outlet has been a huge resource for people to not only speak with one another, but also to interact and hang out in a virtual space. Online gaming, often touted as a limiter of socialization, is now being lauded as a way to spend time with friends from a safe distance and even meet new people with similar interests. I sat down with a few of my friends that have been using video games as a social outlet even before this pandemic to discuss how gaming has impacted them during this time of social distancing.
It's been difficult being in social isolation, but for me it's not been nearly as bad because I have video games to go and do every day.
Social isolation has been okay. It's really interesting. My close circle of friends are always within literally fingertip distance with me without actually being physically near me. So I think it's really important that I wanted to touch upon the fact of the use of socializing online.
Where I live, there's a big outdoor culture, and it's a big thing to go outside and experience, nature and live your life in that manner. So it's been pretty hard for a lot of people to adjust to that. Fortunately for me, I've been gaming, most of my childhood. So it's something that I could fall back on when all that became unavailable.
This should come as no surprise. Videogames.org, a social enterprise that studies technology and its impacts on people, states, video games have created a fun and engaging way of connecting with people and can act as an important teaching tool for developing social skills. These skills are important in the outside world for creating and maintaining friendships, especially in school and work environments. If you aren't a pre-existing gamer, how can you get started? Video gaming is an activity with a lot of different options, and it can be daunting to approach with no experience. So what resources are there to help you and your friends start gaming? When it comes to communication, there's one resounding answer.
It's kind of weird. So the way that we do it is we use a chat service called Discord.
I actually use Discord.
I don't feel isolated in the fact that I can get on a program called Discord, which is basically a gaming version of Skype, and talk to my friends and communicate with them over Discord and play games with them. So I'm still interacting with them without necessarily having to be in the same room with them.
Finding the right game isn't going to be a one-size-fits-all process, and everyone has their preferences and favorites. When it comes to gaming with friends, I enjoy games where I can work together for a common goal, whether that be dungeon runs in a massive multiplayer online game like Elder Scrolls Online, serving up as many delicious meals as possible before the time runs out in Overcooked 2, or sailing the beautiful high seas with my mateys in search of treasure in Sea of Thieves.
The type of games I would recommend to people who are looking to socialize, if you have a good gaming group, I do recommend getting a squad sort of game like Overwatch, where you can get the whole group together.
A lot of the games that me and my friends play together are the games that don't really require a lot of thought to be good at or to have fun at. Call of Duty is one of the games that comes to mind.
A lot of competitive games, COD, Overwatch. Actually, with the new release of Valorant, it's really gotten a lot of people's attention.
If you still aren't sure about what games to play, or you want to try a variety of different games to find your favorite, you can use a subscription service like PlayStation Now or Xbox Games Pass. These offer a variety of different games every month for you to download and play. For those of you who don't have a group to game with, worry not. Video games have been an outlet for making new friends just as much as supporting old ones. There are plenty of places to find groups to play with.
Twitch is a great place, great platform where you stream games for people to watch for entertainment. Like how it's so entertaining. And also that's another way that you can find people to play with online.
You can go to Twitch and you can talk and chat with other people that are watching the same streamers, and you can sort of communicate with them. And if you build a connection with someone over that chat base, you can maybe add them on Discord and you guys could play together and start becoming friends.
For finding people to play with, I would say to potentially look on websites such as like Reddit. That's definitely a good way to like find a really good community to play specific games.
You can find groups to play with in general on subreddits such as r/gamerpals, or you can look for more specific games such as r/fireteams, which helps players find fire teams to do group activities with in Destiny 2. Reddit isn't the only site to find groups to game with. Any social media is gonna have gamer groups, and all it takes is finding the one that best fits you. Just because you want to do your part to stop this virus and stay safe doesn't mean you have to be lonely. Now's the time to join your friends and go on an epic adventure in the digital world.
Well done, Nate. Next, the local scene took a drive up the road to Middleborough, where the Soule Homestead Education Center is an educational nonprofit specializing in farm-based education, craft workshops, and family cultural events. Open to the public from sunrise to sunset, it's a beautiful resource on the South Shore. Here is a walk through Soule Homestead.
Sitting on 120 acres in Middleborough, Massachusetts is Soule Homestead. This land is preserved and maintained as a sustainable organic working farm, an educational and recreational area. A peaceful rustic setting for hiking, cross-country skiing, photography, picnicking, and other recreational activities. The homestead provides hands-on experiences and opportunities that allow everyone to develop an appreciation and respect for all living and non-living things. The antique farm equipment scattered around the fields provides a look into the past of this historic farmland. Soule Homestead.
Ordering takeout was one of the ways we were able to treat ourselves during COVID while supporting our local restaurants. But aside from the food in our takeout containers, what we often find are plastic straws and cutlery, which often end up in landfills and in our oceans. The girls in Plymouth Junior Girl Scout Troop 69156 noticed this too and decided to do something about it. Here, in a piece produced by Kim Mio, is "This is Who We Are. Always Ask."
On my honor, I will try
to serve God and my country,
help people at all times, and to live by the Girl Scout law.
Girl Scouts was started in the early 1900s by one woman, Juliet Gordon Lowe, and it was to help girls connect with their community and their world. And today it's in over 147 countries, and there's over 10 million adults and girls who are part of Girl Scouts. Being a troop leader is really inspiring as you work with these young leaders and these young girls, and it's with their girl-led choices and their ideas. Our Plymouth Junior Girl Scout Troop is made up of 3 young, amazing girls, and they have to do a community project, part of their Get Moving journey. And it has to do with reduce, reuse, recycle.
Well, we kind of were just like talking about how we all have like a drawer of plastic silverware at home, and then you started talking about how 110 Grill asks if you want plastic silverware, and then then we kind of just like talked and like to try maybe like we could see if we could get other restaurants to try and do that too, because then we can reduce the use of plastic silverware.
The girls researched and wrote their own presentation, and they even designed a logo. The Chamber of Commerce in Plymouth invited them over to give their presentation and helped get their buy-in.
Once I heard about Always Ask, I couldn't help but not want to get involved. Of course, it's working with our local restaurants who need help right now, and knew that there could be good cost-saving ways for them, but also because I'm so excited to work with our youth, especially the Girl Scouts. They do such great work. I love the projects that they work on, and I always want to give back to the future of our generations, really.
The troop has had an incredible response from the community, and particularly the restaurant community. And Tavern on the Wharf in Plymouth invited them to lunch and hosted them for lunch so they could do their presentation, and they were very impressed with the girls.
When COVID hit here at Tavern, one of the things that we realized was that the first responders and the people on the front line could really use some appreciation. Everybody was working twice as hard. Everyone was working overtime. So we decided to put together quite a bit of community outreach, and we started feeding them. We started doing what we do best. We're a restaurant. We're a large facility, and we had the ability to do so. We worked with local companies to secure donations to help, and we were able to feed a lot of people. The visual tie-in for me was seeing the facts that the girls had presented in their report and seeing all the different packets of silverware that we were bringing, and while they might have been thoughtful, they might not have been needed.
8 million metric tons goes into our ocean every year, and it's killing animals like seabirds, sea turtles, and seals, and other sea animals, and we want to stop that. That's why, that's kind of the reason why we did Always Ask. That's a big thing with polluting.
I was impressed that 3 young ladies had come up with such a novel concept, that they had taken the time to put something together and present it to the chamber. And when the chamber presented it to me, I thought it would be prudent for us to do our part and share the message.
I believe this program will help the environment for everybody in the world because it will help save all beautiful places and the ocean and all animals, because all the animals in the ocean are swallowing the plastic, getting stuck in the plastic, it's killing them and hurting them. So I really respect programs that help the animals.
After the presentation, we kind of brainstormed within our staff to see what we could do. We want to help, but also because it's such a great idea. So we are reaching out to restaurants. We are going to be distributing stickers and making sure that they're informed and always ask. We're also going to be putting it in our dining guide. We'll be including it in our newsletter, sharing on our social media. So there's so many opportunities for this. And as we work closely with the restaurants, we can communicate the program with them and the status of it.
Always ask is one of the hashtags that we utilize on our social media now. And we always ask. Whenever someone calls for takeout, we have a button that we've put in our POS system that has to be checked, that you have to always ask to make sure they need the silverware and that we're not just putting it in the bag.
Always Ask is a great community impact project for these girls. And watching the community respond is really amazing to see, and to see the girls proud of themselves. This is what Girl Scouts is all about.
101 years ago, this August, equal voting rights for women in the United States were ratified in the 19th Amendment. Tiffany Phillips produced this In the Know, Women's Suffrage.
Did you know that it's only been 100 years since women gained the right to vote? Yep, it's true. 2020 marks the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, stating the right to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. The roots of the suffrage movement go back to the 1820s, when many reform movements were established around issues including religious freedom, anti-slavery, and suffrage, and women played a prominent role. In 1840, abolitionists Lucretia Mott and Elizabeth Cady Stanton wanted to attend the World Anti-Slavery Convention in London, but were barred. Why? Because they were women. Angry and determined, Elizabeth and Lucretia organized the first women's right convention in Seneca Falls, New York. There, they drafted the Declaration of Sentiments. If that sounds sweet, it isn't. The Declaration of Sentiments listed the many injustices women suffered and called upon them to organize and fight for their rights as equal citizens. Which was a strong start, but then the Civil War hit in 1861. The suffrage movement lost its momentum as women abolitionists focused their attention on the fight to end slavery. Susan B. Anthony is well known as a suffragette, but did you know that she personally led many slaves to freedom in the North? She and Elizabeth Cady Stanton gathered signatures urging the government to pass the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery for good. In 1865, the 13th Amendment was passed, ending legal slavery, and there was unity and peace throughout the land. Well, except for Jim Crow laws, the poll tax, redlining, and other forms of systematic racism. But that's for another episode. Progress was on a roll, though, and the 14th Amendment followed next, affirming that freed slaves were now American citizens. Fantastic, right? Next was the 15th Amendment, and this is where it gets hairy. This was the first time gender had been mentioned in the Constitution, and women noticed it didn't mention them. The suffrage movement was reborn. Under the leadership of Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and other pioneers, suffragists distributed petitions and lobbied Congress to pass legislation allowing all women the fundamental right to vote. But obviously no one paid attention to them because who wants to listen to a bunch of ladies complaining about their rights? But that only served to spur the suffragists on. At the turn of the century, women's suffrage became a mass movement, splitting into two groups. The National American Women's Suffrage Movement, which was more of a moderate group led by Carrie Chapman Catt, and the National Women's Party led by Alice Paul, using more radical tactics, which you'll hear about more later. By 1910, both groups were estimated to have numbers in the millions. These women were not messing around. In 1912, 40,000 women dressed in white marched in the New York City suffrage parade demanding recognition of their equality. Now, they had the world's attention. By 1917, women were gathering outside the White House every day, withstanding all kinds of weather, and with anti-suffrage people yelling at them. They held signs with slogans like, "Mr. President, how long must women wait for liberty?" Many were arrested and jailed, and some, like Alice Paul, continued their protestation behind bars with hunger strikes. Remember, they were doing this all in dresses, so these ladies were pretty tough. Some states in the West began to extend the vote to women. Eastern and Southern states were like, no. As World War I progressed, American women joined the effort by stabilizing the home front, filling in for men who had to leave their jobs to go to war. For suffragettes, it didn't seem fair. Their contributions were equal to men, but their rights weren't. Suffragists argued, how can the United States claim to be a free nation when half of its citizens aren't treated as equals? Universal suffrage should be the only position of a civilized nation. Unrelenting organization, protests, and lobbying finally held sway, and on August 18th of 1920, the 19th Amendment to the Constitution was ratified. Yay! And on November 2nd of that year, more than 8 million women across the United States voted in elections for the very first time. Your vote is your voice. When you use it this November, take a moment to honor the women who refused to take no for an answer. They were rebels, they were agitators, they were fighters, and they changed the world. Women's suffrage, now you're in the know.
Max Berger produced this next piece where he shares a recipe for a snack that is 50% healthy and 100% delicious. Here is Kraft Foodery healthy-ish nachos. Tamora Israel is a poet, actor, writer, performer, and entrepreneur. This is her original work.
Hi, my name is Tamora Israel. I'm going to read for you a poem I wrote called Darkness. This poem is about resiliency. This is Darkness. Her darkness has wings. It was a gift from experience. Over the years, she's learned how to get back up after the impossible strikes again. How to soar after she stumbles, if only for a moment. She taught herself how to take a stance, plant her feet, and concentrate before she leaps. She's always been eager to jump and ready to pounce, craving presence and belonging. Come hell or high water, she will be the only one to define herself. The last thing she claimed was ownership of her name. Like Tina, she earned it, no turning back now. See, trauma presents in every different way. And for a long time, her trauma presented every single day. We're talking capital T trauma, talking habitual self-sabotage. We're talking giving names to your broken parts so you know who to call upon when the old habits start. Die hard they do and die hard they will is the understanding that brokenness is temporary. No one told her, but no one really had to. Where there is darkness, there will always be light. Where there is sadness, kindness can also be found. Where there is brokenness, lessons will be close behind. There's always a tomorrow to look forward to. She's tired and scared. But that hasn't stopped her before, so why should it now? She's gonna get back up, because that's what she does. She's gonna be good at it, because that's who she is. If you know someone like her, support them. If you are her, keep getting back up. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamora, and thank you for staying with us for this episode of Local Matters. From all of us at PAC TV, have a safe and happy week. We'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. We are grateful for your attention. If you like what you saw, please like and subscribe to The Local Scene here and share everywhere. Thank you, friends.